Welcome to Lecture 3, Theories of Attitudes. Introduction. In this lecture, we shall attempt to consider different definitions of theories by various authors and writers over the years. This exercise is meant for you to know the different theories and how it explains attitudes. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Define and discuss the theories of attitude. Explain the evolutions of attitudes theories. Content. A theory is an organized system of ideas that seeks to explain why variables are related. Attitude theories in essence attempt to explain the underlying factors in the development of attitudes and attitude change. Prominent among the theories of attitude are consistency theories, which imply that we seek to be consistent in our beliefs and values. The most famous example of such a theory is dissonance reduction theory, associated with Leon Festinger. According to Festinger's 1957 theory, when we perceive a discrepancy between our attitudes and behavior, between our behavior and self-image, or between one attitude and another, a frustrating state of anxiety or dissonance results. For example, a person may successfully overcome a childhood racial prejudice, but may experience unpleasant emotional arousal at the sight of a racially mixed couple. The person experiences a conflict between the belief in his own lack of prejudice and the evidence of prejudice from his behavior. This internal conflict produces cognitive dissonance, which is aversive. According to Festinger, a crucial source of a person's motivation is dissonance reduction. The aversive state of dissonance motivates a person to reduce it because dissonance reduction involves the removal of an aversive stimulus. It serves as a negative reinforcer. A person can achieve dissonance reduction either by reducing the importance of the dissonance element, strategy 1, or by adding consonant element, strategy 2, or by changing one of the dissonant elements, strategy 3. For example, a student believes she is very intelligent, but she invariably gets bad grades in her courses because the obvious prediction is that intelligent people get good grades. The discrepancy causes the students to experience dissonance. To reduce this dissonance, she might decide grades are unimportant and intelligence is not closely related to grades. This is using strategy 1, reducing the importance of one of the dissonant elements, the fact that she got bad grades in her courses. Or she can dwell on the belief that her professors have been unfair or that her job leaves her only little time to study. In this case, she is using strategy 2, reducing dissonance by adding consonant elements, those factors that can account for her poor grades and hence explain the discrepancy between her perceived intelligence and actual grades. Finally, she can use strategy 3 to change one of the dissonant elements. She can either start getting good grades or revise her opinion of her own intelligence. Self-perception theory. Self-perception theory is an account of attitude change developed by psychologist Daryl Bain, 1967. The theory states that we only have that knowledge of our own behavior and its causation that another person can have, and that we therefore develop our attitudes by observing our own behavior and concluding what attitude must have caused them. Self-perception theory differs from cognitive dissonance theory in that it does not hold that people experience a negative drive state called dissonance, which they seek to relieve. Instead, people simply infer their attitudes from their own behavior in the same way that an outside observer might. In this way, it combines dissonance theory with attribution theory. Bain 1967 ran his own version of Festinger and Carl Smith 1959 famous cognitive dissonance experiment. Subjects listened to a tape of a man enthusiastically describing a tedious peg-turning task, some subjects were told that the man had been paid 3,000 for his testimonial and another group was told that he was paid 150 naira. Those in the latter condition thought that the man must have enjoyed the task more than those in the 3,000 condition. Bem argued that the subjects did not judge the man's attitude in terms of cognitive dissonance phenomena, and that therefore any attitude change the man might have had in that situation was a result of the subject's own self-perception. Cognitive dissonance theory cannot explain attitude change that occurs when there is no upsetting dissonance state. Whether cognitive dissonance or self-perception is a more useful theory is a topic of considerable controversy and a large body of literature with no clear winner. There are some circumstances where each theory is preferred, but it is traditional to use the terminology of cognitive dissonance theory by default. Elaboration likelihood model, ELM. The elaboration likelihood model of persuasion proposed by Petty and Cacioppo 1981-1986 is a model of how attitudes are formed and changed. Central to this model is the elaboration continuum, which ranges from low elaboration, low thought, to high elaboration, high thought. Depending on the extent of elaboration, different processes can mediate persuasion. The ELM distinguishes between two routes to persuasion, the central route and the peripheral route. Central route processes are those that require a great deal of thought and therefore are likely to predominate under conditions that promote high elaboration. Central route processes involve careful scrutiny of a persuasive communication, a speech, an advertisement, and so forth, to determine the merit of the argument. Under these conditions, a person's unique cognitive responses to the message determine the persuasive outcome, the direction and magnitude of attitude change. Peripheral route processes, on the other hand, require light thought and therefore predominate under conditions that promote low elaboration. These processes often rely on judgmental heuristics such as his facts are always right, or surface features of the message, the number of arguments presented, or its source, their attractiveness. Which route is taken is determined by the extent of elaboration. Both motivational and ability factors determine elaboration. Motivational factors include, among others, the personal relevance of the message topic, accountability, a person's need for cognition, their innate desire to enjoy thinking. Ability factors include the availability of cognitive resources, for example, the presence or absence of time pressures or distractions, or relevant knowledge needed to carefully scrutinize the argument. Under conditions of moderate elaboration, a mixture of central and peripheral route processes will guide information processing. Social judgment theory. The social judgment theory of attitude change was proposed by Karl Hovland and Mazuva Sherif, 1961. This theory attempts to explain how attitude change is influenced by judgmental processes. The key idea of social judgment theory can be understood and explained in terms of attribution and other communication processes. Attribution is a process by which people decide why certain events occurred or why a particular person acted in a certain manner. The following factors influence a person's attribution: internal versus external causes of own behavior and the behaviors of others, consistency, consensus, and a certain person's role as an actor or a receiver in a particular situation. A study of weight perception illustrates the theory. Participants are asked to categorize several small weights by weight class based only on lifting each one in turn. A constant group C categorized the weights roughly evenly across 6 weight classes, while another group A was asked to lift a much heavier weight before each test weight. This group categorized most weights in the lowest weight class with decreasing quantities in each successively higher weight class. The third group B lifted a weight only as heavy as the highest weight class before judging each other weight. This group categorized most weight into the highest weight class, with decreasing quantities in successively lower classes. The opposite result of Group A and contrary to predictions of the contrast effect. Hovland and Sharif call this effect, where things start to seem more like their context, the heavyweight, the assimilation effect. In terms of anchoring and adjustment, when an anchor, the heavyweight, approaches the range of possible judgments, the 6 weight classes, the categorization of judgments shifts from contrast to assimilation. When applied to social judgment, this effect shows that the most effective position to advocate for changing another's attitude judgment is the most extreme position within that person's latitude of acceptance, within which assimilation effect will make your position seem more like their own. Beyond this latitude lies the latitude of rejection, within which any position will be seen as more different from one's own due to contrast effect. Summary. The students have learned the following: dissonance reduction theory, self-perception theory, elaboration likelihood model, and social judgment theory. End of lecture 3. Thanks for listening.